Two companies plan to operate outside of city limits. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. Reuters reports the president of Penn State said on Sunday he was appalled by the media coverage surrounding allegations the university's late head football coach Joe Paterno knew about child sex abuse by his assistant coach as far back as the mid-1970s. New allegations about Paterno, a legendary figure at Penn State and still revered by many supporters, surfaced last week in court documents in a civil case over settlements with victims of his assistant Jerry Sandusky. Paterno, who died in January 2012, was fired in 2011 after disclosures that he knew Sandusky sexually abused young boys in the school's football showers in 2002, and that, while he told university officials, he failed to notify police. The new allegations involve alleged incidents that are years older. Eric Barron, the president of Penn State University, said in an open letter on the school's website, "I am appalled by the rumor, innuendo, and rush to judgment that have accompanied these media stories surrounding these allegations." Barron said none of the fresh allegations, which threatened to reopen a scandal that rocked the school's vaunted football program and college sports in general, have been substantiated in a court of law, and they are unsupported by any evidence. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A local grandmother is beginning to realize that her family never even looked for a better nursing home. A man leaves a father-daughter dance with a different girl than he came with, and an earthquake late warning system goes off in Haiti. Watch as yet another precious fraction of your life passes mercilessly in front of your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Shortly after discovering he had locked himself outside of his suburban home Thursday, fully nude claims adjuster David Ronzo delivered a moving and thought-provoking treatise on the frailty of the human condition to a slowly gathering crowd of his neighbors. Ronzo, who initially panicked when he realized he was naked, soon turned and faced confused passersby and delivered a stirring oration on the grim facts of mortality, along with the indomitable nature of the human spirit. In other news, a man is arrested for stealing over $50,000 worth of beards from Hank Williams Jr. A pretty lady is playing hard to follow, and a dog named Murph lives up to his name. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us on the radio waves here and bring up whatever happens to be on your mind. Of course, we always bring things to the table to discuss with you. And coming up here tonight, the Russian government targeting Bitcoin users. Venezuelans now hunting dogs, cats, and pigeons as food is running out. Darryl, you're going to be telling us about the British government saying it's time to stop resetting your passwords. And we're introducing a new co-host to the show here tonight, guest host Melanie. Hey, Melanie.
Hi.
Welcome to Free Talk Live. You are a newer mover to New Hampshire, having been, I think, you might have been like the final Free State Project early mover to Keene before the official Free State Project move began. I believe it was in February of this year where they hit their 20,000 mark of libertarians, voluntarists who've pledged to make the move to New Hampshire. You were or were you even a Free Stater? Am I jumping to a conclusion?
No, I did sign. I moved in November, so it was right before the cutoff. I'm not sure if I was the last one to Keene or not. That's possible.
I think so.
I think you were.
Because the guys from Think Penguin, the gay couple that bought a house in Keene here this year, were the first people to move after the official move began. So congratulations. You're the final early mover to Keene. Anyway, you came up from Louisiana, which sounds like absolute hell from the stories that you've told, and I'm sure you'll, as we go on and get to know you here on the air, I'm sure you'll have all kinds of Louisiana-related stories to share. And you've also done some legal training. You went to law school? Is that right?
I went to law school and passed the bar in Louisiana. I'm not licensed anywhere.
Are you planning
So
on
you're not
moving?
part of the British something registry?
Well, in Louisiana, I wouldn't be anyway, and also that's fake, so no.
Yeah, okay, so we hear a lot of like legal conspiracy theories on Free Talk Live, and it'll be fun to have you here to kind of, if those people call in, and they don't call very often, but if they call in to, I don't know, pick it apart, the theory that or the conspiracy that you're referring to, Darryl, is the BAR, the BAR
Right,
registry.
the word BAR is supposedly an acronym
for British Accredited Registry or something like that.
Yeah, it's British something. I don't know what the A supposedly stands for, and then the R is registry, and then you get the title of nobility Esquire.
Right. Isn't that part of the theory that America is still part of Britain? Isn't that sort of part of that larger
something like that
theory? So as someone who went to law school, they didn't teach you what the BAR secretly stands for?
No, and especially being in Louisiana, I think that if they had a chance to hate on the other states, they would have took it.
Right,
so
because Louisiana is part of France. No, as far as the common law, it's under Napoleonic common law, not British common law.
Well, since France left, they haven't had Napoleonic law. They have civil law, not to be confused with civil versus criminal, but civil versus common.
Okay.
Oh, so you were not right about that, Darryl? It's not a Napoleonic system there. What's so different about Louisiana? Because it's one of the more, I guess, restrictive states as far as marijuana will get you put in prison for a long time. It's a very imprisoning kind of place. Why is that? Is there something different about its legal system that stems from the Napoleonic legal system that makes it different?
I don't know that I would blame civil law on Louisiana being the prison capital of the world. The system is corrupt. And if they followed... Yeah, I think civil law is better because at least civil law is more like civil law is more like lawful evil, whereas common law is more like chaotic evil. If I'm in a civil law system, which is truly a civil law system, and even in Louisiana, you have where the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, will interpret things how they want to when they're not really supposed to be. But at least under a civil system, if you tell me I can't smoke weed, commit prostitution, or curse out a cop, and I don't do those things, I won't go to jail. Whereas under a common law system, if the judge decides what I did is similar to something else that somebody did that was illegal, then he can still throw me in jail anyway. Although
interesting, I've never even heard of this discrepancy before. So
in the US,
the civil law you're referring to is different from a civil case versus criminal,
right? Yeah. So you in all the other states and in Louisiana too, you have civil cases where you're suing for either money or some kind of injunction,
some kind of damages. Yeah.
In a, criminal case where it's the state versus you, where it's basically just you're going to jail or a fine, generally jail. So common law, and it is kind of confusing because in the U.S. we have some civil rights that we do still have from the Constitution, at least in theory, where we have to have some form of due process. So criminal law is statutory law in all the states anyway, so that kind of makes it extra confusing. So you're not supposed to be convicted of something unless there's a statute. So that is more of a civil law thing, even though all the other states are common law jurisdictions.
In civil law, like in Louisiana, you can be convicted of something if there is no statute, or no, that was common law.
You can't, but you can't in any other state either because of constitutional protections that are kind of different than regular common law. So, I guess a better example would be civil lawsuits to compare the two, because we don't really necessarily have common law, strictly speaking, in the criminal context under the United States. So if somebody is going to sue me in Louisiana, they have to bring up a statute that said I was negligent or that said I'm somehow other liable.
Otherwise, there's no standing to sue.
Right. Although then they have that kind of sweeping statute that they went and added after the fact that said, and any other negligent behavior you can be sued under, which kind of defeats the purpose.
So there's a big loophole.
They what?
There's a loophole then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then other states are just like, well, in 1715, I guess it would have 1780. It would have to be after 1776. There was somebody who did something kind of like you, and it's not even the same thing, so we're suing you based on that.
So common law relies largely on judicial precedent.
Yes.
Whereas civil law doesn't necessarily.
It's not supposed to. When they do, they'll end up doing the same thing. Louisiana will say, oh, we interpreted this statute. Well, the statute said not, and you said always, so that's not really an interpretation. But
we believe the legislature's original intention was...
And I did a search on the Napoleonic thing, and on the wiki page it does say, despite a popular myth that Louisiana civil code derives from Napoleonic code, the similarities are because both stem from common sources. The Napoleonic code was not enacted until 1 year after the Louisiana Purchase, so there's absolutely no way that it could be based on Napoleonic code per se, but they are very similar according to the Wikipedia. So I've been mistaken all this time, and apparently a lot of other people are as well.
It was a darn good story, though. I really enjoyed it when you were mistaken, because it sounded really, cool.
Right, and this is something I've heard for years. I've heard this for years from people.
And that was Wikipedia?
The Wikipedia points out that, no, point of fact, Napoleonic Code did not exist until 1804. Louisiana Purchase was 1803.
Still an awful place, apparently, to be if you are a cannabis smoker. And so, again, welcome aboard.
Or if you're anybody. I mean, you don't have to smoke weed to go to jail.
So you don't miss it? You've been here, several months now?
Since November. I was down there last week.
So 6 months. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I was down in Louisiana not too long ago, and one of the questions that was asked during the candidate forum that I took part in was about the large prison population in Louisiana. And my answer to the question was, we need to get rid of some of these laws because a lot of the laws have no victim. And one of the other candidates on stage said, I'd just tell people not to break the law.
Well, if you think it's bad in Louisiana, wait till you hear about Venezuela, where we've been following along for quite a while here, watching the slow motion free fall of failure that is the socialist government of Venezuela, and just, of course, empathizing as much as we can with the poor people who are there, who have to deal with this, who have to live underneath this system that results in rampant crime. It results in no food being available. The most basic staples are nearly impossible to get through traditional channels, like a grocery store in Venezuela. And now, according to PanAmPost.com, people are hunting dogs. Is it a true story? 855-450-FREE.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-945-9372. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-945-9372. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-945-9372. That's 1-800-945-9372.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us right here toll free at 855-450-FREE. Also, Skype username is LRN.FM. Of course, you can bring up whatever's on your mind. We're going to give you another update on Venezuela here. It turns out all you have to do is just do a Google News search for Venezuela, and you'll find some insane story just about every day at this point.
Yeah.
In fact, I just discovered as I was looking for the latest, because the story about people hunting dogs and cats in Venezuela is actually a few days old now. The latest news out of Venezuela is one of the opposition party leaders has now been assassinated, meaning those who oppose the status quo. We'll tell you more about that here tonight. It's Ian, Melanie, and Darryl in the studio. And could you use up to $35,000? No need to shop around for loans anymore. LoanUS.com is a convenient online way to connect with a lender based on your unique background and provide you a loan of up to $35,000. And LoanUS.com works with lenders in all 50 states. Use the loan to pay for emergency expenses, medical bills, debt consolidation, home improvement, large purchases, and even taxes. Once again, that's LoanUS.com. As we go to the phones, we'll talk about Venezuela coming up here. First, Sarah's in Albuquerque listening to Kiva. Hello, Sarah. Sarah in Albuquerque. Going once. Sarah in Albuquerque. Going twice.
I wonder if she got run over by a vehicle, since that's such a problem in Albuquerque.
So you're making an inside joke for people who've listened to the show for the last several weeks, where Sarah is one of the most chronic callers that we have these days. And to her credit, Darryl, she has changed up her topics. She was calling about the same topic every night for a while, which was vehicular and pedestrian safety. And now she's been calling about different things. So kudos to her for that.
Most of them false.
Well, you know, it's talk radio. There's no obligation that you have to be truthful when you call the show. It's nice when...
There was the one night on Thursday. It was me, Chris, and Conan in studio, and she called in to talk about how the moon landing was fake.
Well,
and of course, Conan loved it.
Right.
Like I think Conan might have a crush on her now.
So, that believing the moon landing's fake isn't necessarily false. I mean, she's not lying. She believes the moon landing is fake, and the people who are
she was saying we should go to New Mexico and see where they filmed it.
she might believe it was filmed there. I mean, just because she's wrong doesn't mean she was lying.
Does she mean that it was filmed outdoors or in a production studio?
In the Salt Flats.
That's interesting because the conspiracy theory I had heard was that it was filmed in a Hollywood production studio.
The theory that I heard growing up was that it was filmed in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
In a production studio or outdoors?
Production studios.
Okay, that's interesting. I can't say. I know Muscle Shoals, we were on the air there for many years on Free Talk Live on WVNA. Unfortunately, the station ended up going off the air after some time, after many years of airing the show. Muscle Shoals sort of known for audio production, right? Lots of like lots of musical bands produced albums there.
Yeah, and from what I had heard, and this is the theory, is that they used the music production studios. They cleared it out and set up the TV.
That makes no sense.
I know it makes no sense.
Does NASA have an office nearby or something?
Well, there's the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center.
Is that a NASA thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Muscle Shoals isn't that far from NASA.
PanAmPost.com reporting on the economic crisis that continues to deepen in Venezuela. Ramon Muchacho, the mayor of Chano in Caracas, said the streets of the capital of Venezuela are filled with people killing animals for food. Through Twitter, Muchacho reported that in Venezuela it is a, quote, painful reality that people are hunting cats, dogs, and pigeons to ease their hunger. People are reportedly also gathering vegetables from the ground and trash to eat. The crisis in Venezuela is worsening.
Hold on. Where else would they gather vegetables from? They don't grow on trees.
Well, I think the noteworthy portion was that they're gathering them from the trash, meaning people are...
It said from the ground.
And the trash.
Okay.
Yeah. So people are dumpster diving to get vegetables, which is probably not the best quality vegetables, but when you're starving, you probably don't care so much about that kind of thing. The crisis is worsening every day, due in part to shortages reaching 70%. I don't know what that means. Shortages of what? 70% of what? This is to go along with the world's highest level of inflation. The population's desperation has begun to show with looting and robberies for food increasing all the time. This Sunday, May 1st, 6 Venezuelan military officials were arrested for stealing goats to ease their hungers. There was no food at the Fort Manar military base. The week before, various regions of the country saw widespread looting of shopping malls, pharmacies, supermarkets, and food trucks, all while people chanted, "We are hungry." I remember seeing video, I think it was probably late last year, of people mobbing a military truck. There was like a military truck that had come to, I don't know if it was a grocery store where it was, but purportedly the truck had some sort of food supplies, and people were just mobbing this thing. I mean, it was kind of a scary-looking scene.
And you did mention the inflation. I've got the latest numbers from Dollar Today.
Yes.
The cause of the inflation,
That's
obviously, according to Nicolas Maduro.
It's according to the central bank in Venezuela. They believe this website you're going to cite here is actually causing hyperinflation in their country.
Dollar Today says that the rate between the U.S. dollar and the Bolivar Fuerte is 1,109.62.
Okay, so it's holding at around 1,100 per.
It's holding.
Is 100 times more than the official exchange rate, which is 10 to 1. So the Venezuelan government says that their Bolivar, the strong Bolivar, the Bolivar Fuerte, is worth that you should be able to trade in 10 Bolivar Fuerte for $1 US.
Yes.
Or vice versa. But of course, the government won't actually let you trade in money for a US dollar. So you can only trade US dollars in for Bolivar Fuertes. And you're a damn fool if you do that at the official exchange rate, because if you go onto the black market, you can get up to 1,100 Bolivar Fuertes for $1 US in the black marketplace. And the kind of economic havoc that this policy of a government-enforced exchange rate, this official exchange rate, the economic havoc that is wreaking on this country is hard to really wrap your head around. By no means am I an expert on this, but it's my understanding that you can blame that for why there's no toilet paper, why there's no chicken, why there's no soap, why there's no fill in the blank, whatever, staple food and home product that you might be looking for in Venezuela. They don't make it there. They have to bring it in from other countries.
Right.
And so in order to do that, the supplier, whoever it is that's going to sell you a pallet full of toilet paper, they don't want the Bolivar Fuerte.
Right, because the toilet paper is more valuable than the Bolivar Fuerte.
Yeah, it's pretty much getting to be that point.
We talked about the price of some of the stuff, and really the only thing people need to know is the largest denomination bill
100
is a
Fuerte.
100 Bolivar Fuerte. It will buy you a loose cigarette from a street vendor.
That was last week, Darryl. I don't know. It might get you less than one cigarette this week, depending on the inflation rate. But yeah, it's
probably.
bad.
But like that's what people need to know. A single loose cigarette costs you what the largest denominated bill is.
855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. It's funny, but it's also tragic for the people who have to deal with it. We'll tell you more coming up on Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Purchase a ProPure system during the Crazy May sale and get a free ProMax shower filter or water filter pitcher. Remove up to 200 contaminants with the Pro 1G 2.0 truly cleanable, reusable filter. We don't stretch our claims. We just deliver performance. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
It's happening every day. They sip some kind of chemicals through the floor.
Oh, so it's like gas.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's the truth.
I was under the impression they were coming into your house and holding you down.
Well, they can come in. Oh, yeah, I got my remote controls right now. I can't find them. I listen to this preacher man. Every time I listen to him, some kind of way they turns the station off.
Maybe it's just going off.
I mean, you'd be surprised.
They've got the remote, Mark.
How much power they have, and that's what they got. They got a lot of power.
I think you should go get some help.
I think you should talk to somebody who cares about you and ask them about psychological help. Somewhere, someone has had gas pumped into their room, but I just don't think it's happening with Mary because she's outspoken.
What does she speak out against? I should have asked her that.
I don't know. Damn it. You're done.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Discount. In business, that happens.
Hey, who let Donald Trump on these airwaves? The toll-free number here.
Don't blame me.
It wasn't. Well, I guess it was me, but it was an accident. One of those things. Those those auto-playing pages on the internet. I hate those.
Yeah,
it's bad programming. It's bad web design to just when you load a page have audio play, because it can surprise people. Not just in that circumstance, but if you've got your speakers turned up on your computer, you don't realize it. You go to some website and then bam! All of a sudden you're blasting out music or talk.
The worst is the ones where it doesn't play right away.
It has to load.
It waits about 2 minutes. No, not because of loading, but because of the way it's programmed.
Wow.
So that way you'll be reading the article, and then if you're on the page for long enough, then boom, it pops up. Yeah.
I can't say I've noticed that, but I'll take your word for it that they exist.
Yeah. I've been on sites before where it'll happen, and then I figure out, it's on that one.
In this case, the culprit was CNN. Anyway,
They're horrible.
We can talk about Trump if necessary. He has actually come out and said something that I agree with, which is that he believes the federal minimum wage should be abolished.
Okay.
So,
I thought you meant the other stupid thing that he said today, that I saw memes all over the place where apparently Trump said the U.S. government will never default because we can just print the money.
Well, I mean, that is a true statement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of true. We enforce the value of the dollar with the military, so that's basically true.
So, toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Hungry Venezuelans are now going after dogs and cats and pigeons in order to feed themselves and their families. It is getting that bad, according to PanAmPost.com, and we'll continue with that story. You can also join us and share your thoughts toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You, as a free, beautiful, independent human being with inalienable rights, own yourself. You can do what you want with your own body and the product of your labor. All human interaction should be free of force and coercion, and we are free to exercise our rights, limited only by respect for the rights of others. Governments rely on force, and force is a poor substitute for persuasion. When you learned don't hit, don't steal, and don't kill, it wasn't unless you work for the government. Governments frighten us into thinking we need them, but we're moving past the statist paradigm and rendering them obsolete. The Wisdom Within Freedom by Adam Kokesh will empower you to be more happy, free, and prosperous while putting you in a position to help shape our destiny. Find Freedom by Adam Kokesh in Dead Tree format on Amazon and available online for free at thefreedomline.com/freedom. As we continue in the studio here tonight, you've got me, Ian.
Melanie.
And Darryl.
And you're welcome to join us also on Skype. At Skype username LRN.FM. The story from PanAmPost.com is about how people are getting desperate there in Venezuela. The crime rate is pretty crazy. We can talk more about that, but it's to the point where even members of the Venezuelan military are stealing goats just to eat because they don't have any food left at the military base. If the government can't feed the military, you're in a pretty dire situation, because usually the government takes care of their own because they want to take care of their enforcers, because that's the one thin blue line, or in this case the thin green line, between the angry, hungry people and the well-fed government bureaucrats.
Right.
So,
unless they're trying to make it look worse than it is, and I don't know anything about Venezuela, but governments will do that.
Well, no, I don't think this is. I don't think it's a set-up story that the Venezuelan.
We were just faking the hyperinflation for the last decade. Ha ha! Jokes on the world.
Well, no, I don't think they're faking the hyperinflation, but the government still a lot of the time. Oh, well, we can't afford to maintain the bridges, but we just bought 50 flat-screen TVs to make it look like they don't have money.
They do have money, but it's not worth anything, right? So the bolivar is not something you can actually use to buy anything with. In fact, the government, as we reported last week in Venezuela, can't even afford to buy the bolivar. And what I mean by that is, unlike the U.S. government, who has their agreement with the Federal Reserve to print money up, the Venezuelan government doesn't, even though they have a central bank, the central bank doesn't handle that. the private companies like De La Rue, which is apparently the largest private currency provider in the world.
British company.
Yeah, these private companies are the people that Venezuela goes to get their currency. Well, it's to the point where Venezuela cannot afford to buy new currency. So they're inflating the money supply, but now at this point they can't get any more money in to inflate the money supply with, because they are $70 million in debt to De La Rue, and De La Rue's basically saying, well, you haven't paid on your last order, so we don't really feel like making any new orders for you. And so right now, Venezuela's trying to go to their competitors to see if the other currency providers of the world would be willing to take on Venezuela as a new client. And I don't think they will.
I'm still baffled by the fact that Venezuela, which has a population about 1/10 of what's in the United States.
Yeah, about 30 million.
Has actually ordered, I think it was 2 trillion more bills than what the U.S. Federal Reserve ordered to be printed this year.
In the same time frame.
In the same time frame. The U.S. government wants 7.6 billion
Didn't they fly them in on cargo jets under the cover of darkness and had the Venezuelan military escort them to wherever the hell they're holding that money?
And the Venezuelan government wanted 10 billion trillion, whatever it was. It was more notes than what the U.S. Federal Reserve is wanting to print during the same
country of the U.S.
period of time.
So it's crazy.
Well, that doesn't really the rate of printing matters, but the total amount of bills doesn't really mean anything because it's fiat currency.
Well, of course it means something. The more bills there are, is the more money chasing the same amount of goods.
That's
the definition of inflation.
Well, but it matters. Like the fact that they're printing more this year matters, but the total amount of
the total does matter because that's the definition of inflation, right? Inflation isn't the increase in prices. That's a symptom of inflation. A lot of people think inflation is, the price went up. That's inflation. Well, not necessarily. Inflation is an increase in the money supply, meaning there's more bills, more Bolivar Fuerte in this case, chasing around the same amount of goods. So if chicken, which you can't really find, but if you could find a chicken in a grocery store in Venezuela, and let's just say, I'm just going to pick a number, 100 Bolivar Fuerte, obviously it would be more than that because we know that 100 Bolivar Fuerte won't buy a cigarette.
100 Bolivar Fuerte might get you a chicken wing.
Let's say 10,000 Bolivar Fuerte for a chicken. If all of a sudden they double the amount of Bolivar Fuertes in circulation, well, that chicken's going to double in price probably.
Well, yeah, because that's the rate of printing, not the total amount.
Because the
total amount. If it was twice what it was, but then you're also getting paid. Because there's no inherent value to a dollar bill or a Venezuelan bill.
That's true. It's not a guarantee that it'll double,
like saying
it'll go up.
It's like saying how many points do you have? That doesn't even mean anything unless you know what the exchange rate is for an actual object.
The Venezuelan Chamber of Food has said many businesses only have 15 days worth of inventory. Production has been affected as a result of shortage of raw materials, as well as exhausted national and international supply resources.
Hold on, 15 days? That's actually pretty good because I've heard that in the U.S., most of the stores have a 3-day supply.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounded pretty decent to me as well. Supermarket employees confirm food does not arrive at the same rate as it did before and that people's inability to get enough is a daily struggle. Supermarkets are registered into a system in such a way that they're not permitted to sell Venezuelans food 15 days since their purchase of the same product. So there's controls of amounts that you can purchase over time.
Sorry, Ian, you bought ramen noodles last week. You've got to wait another week and a half.
That's pretty much sounds like what it is, which means you probably have a national food card that you're having to scan every time you go into the grocery store at the checkout. So that means the government, the big fear of these discount cards in the United States was that the government will get control of the data behind them. And so some people refuse to sign up for those discount card programs. In this case, that sounds like exactly what's going on here. The government has absolutely taken over inventory management of grocery stores. And, of course, they actually nationalized a grocery chain a few years ago, if I'm recalling that story correctly. As a result, long food lines have formed all over the country, with many people reselling their shares to earn extra income. 855-450-FREE. Join us on Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
How long would you wait for your shower to get hot? How long would you wait for your cell phone to fully charge? How long would you wait to get relief from your nasal congestion? If you're congested now and you want powerful relief now, use Afrin No Drip. Afrin starts working in seconds and keeps working for 12 hours. So, why wait? When you can start to get relief in seconds with Afrin. Afrin, powerful congestion relief without the wait. Use as directed. For more information, go to Afrin.com.
Geico applauds your inner journey seeker.
Geico gives a hearty pat on the back to the part of you that just wants to get out and ride your motorcycle, to take to the open road, and let the wind and bugs fly your way. In fact, bring on the bugs. They can't stop your quest for highway enlightenment. Geico insures not only your car, but also that fine-looking bike of yours, with a custom-tailored policy and the best rates for you. So next time you suit up for adventure, make sure to take Geico along for the ride.
Geico Motorcycle. See how much you could save.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Join us on the radio waves here. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Our Skype username is LRN.FM. And we've been talking about Venezuelans that are now, according to PanAmPost.com, hunting in the streets of the capital for dogs, pigeons, and even cats to ease their hunger. And a lot of people are going to be shocked by that, but that is what, people are going to do when they're desperate for food, when they can't go to the grocery store and get the most basic food items, or they have to wait for hours and hours in line. It's, of course, not just that's bad in Venezuela. It's also the crime, which is terrible. There's been an assassination. This is breaking news as of today. According to FoxNews.com Latino, the killing of an opposition leader in Venezuela may have had political motives. Fellow party members of the late German, maybe it's Herman Mavare, told Fox News Latino Mavare, leader of the Un Nuevo Tiempo UNT party in the western state of Lara, died Thursday after being shot point blank in the head as he was walking home with a friend in the state's capital. All that was taken was his outdated cell phone. And by the way, it's getting harder and harder to make cell phone calls in Venezuela because the cell phone companies that are operating in the country are owed money by the Venezuelan government, who can't afford to pay their bills. And because and they're owed so much money, I don't remember how much it was quite a bit, millions and millions. They can't afford to pay their suppliers. So the cell phone companies have higher-ups, the higher-level companies that they're buying, I don't know, airtime or satellite access or whatever it is that you need to buy to run a cell phone network, long-distance packages, things like that. They can't afford to buy those because they don't have the money that is owed to them from the Venezuelan government. So some people are losing their long distance. They're losing the ability to connect on a cell phone. Anyway, opposition leaders have called it an assassination of a vocal critic of the socialist government. Mavare, 53, who lived in a neighborhood traditionally dominated by Chavismo, was considered a strong force behind the opposition's win in the December parliamentary election. He was a key part of the opposition campaign in Barquisimeto, where we won in places historically controlled by the government's party, said the president of UNT, Enrique Marquez. In Mavare's district, Juan de Villegas, the opposition carried all three of the available seats for the National Assembly. So what happened back in December, in case you haven't been paying attention, and you probably haven't, is that the opposition had tremendous success in the elections for the national parliament, or whatever they call it there, in Venezuela. Maduro's still there. So the successor to Chavez is still seated as El Presidente there in Venezuela. So it's not a complete win for the opposition, but they did basically take control of the parliament. And since then, there have been some shenanigans with the Supreme Court and trying to change the results of the election, and I haven't heard any updates on that. Congressman Luis Florido, a member of the Voluntad Popular from Lara State, a vocal opponent of Venezuela's socialist government, said a witness to the shooting gave a chilling version of events, saying, quote, Mavare was walking to his house with a female friend when a man on a motorcycle intercepted them. At first, he tried to rob them, and Mavare asked him to leave the woman alone. The man then said that he didn't want to rob them. He wanted to kill them. And then he fired the shots. After hearing the story, Florido said we all assumed the man was a hired killer. In Mavare's neighborhood, La Cruceña, the government a few years ago set up a Chavista base manned with dozens of mostly armed supporters considered violent. Because of his political work, Mavare had several confrontations with these armed supporters. He added, quote, this could have been a political crime, and everything signals the members of the Tarora commune. They wanted to maybe send a message and scare people. Just over a week ago, Mavare played a key role in the effort of collecting signatures for a referendum petition to recall President Nicolas Maduro. The story here doesn't mention the number of signatures, but another story I read said they collected like 1.8 million signatures. So this was a pretty significant, if you think about it, Darryl, you and I, we've done some petition signature gathering before.
Yes.
Think about how difficult it is to actually accomplish gathering a handful of signatures, let alone 1.8 million. This was an incredible operation that they had to put together to gather that kind of those kind of signatures. And so Mavare was helping head that up in his area of the state. So UNT President Marquez, who's also the vice president of the National Assembly, said that he'd rather not jump to conclusions about what the nature of the crime was. Venezuela's Attorney General announced an investigation is underway, although, of course, considering the Attorney General works for Nicolas Maduro, it's probably questionable as far as how investigative the investigation will be.
Probably as investigative as Barack Obama's investigation into Hillary.
Exactly. So his cell phone was old. He didn't have any market value, or it didn't have any market value. If his killer took it, it might have been to check his information and his contacts and not to steal it. The brutal killing has sent chills across the country. The National Assembly will address the case on Tuesday and demand a public repudiation of the crime from the part of the government. And the Assembly plans to declare May 5th the official day of the community worker in memory of Mavare. Let's go to the phones and to the fun. We're going to try Sarah one more time in Albuquerque. She's called back. We had technical difficulties with the first call tonight. Sarah, are you with us this time?
I wanted to let you know, I have turned communist. I like communist value.
You've turned communist?
Well, you know what? I turned communist when I was in Boston, Massachusetts, believe it or not.
I believe it completely. That's Boston for you. So what does it mean to be a communist?
Well, the communist value is to, share alike, share the wealth alike, and to make everybody fair and have equal distribution of wealth, like Bernie Sanders is talking about. And Hugo Chavez, made Venezuela very prosperous. The first thing he did
No, that's not the case at all. Have you been listening to what we've been saying about Venezuela?
Well, I have been.
They're starving. There's hungry people hunting dogs in the streets. Not prosperous.
That's because it turned capitalist, right?
No. Sorry.
Now it turned capitalist.
No. Hugo Chavez may have died, but he handed the keys to the kingdom over to his second-in-command, Nicolas Maduro. So the Chavez reign is continuing in Venezuela. It is a socialist country. But, a lot of people will point out that socialism works in some places. They'll claim that some of the other nations of the world that are socialist are success stories, like, Sweden, for instance, or Finland. Places like that.
Denmark, although if you read stories
against peaceful people. So that's what you're advocating when you advocate for socialism, right? Or when you advocate for communism. You're advocating for people to be threatened. Huh?
Well, look at this. Retirement and Social Security is a socialist form of, it's a communist form of wealth. But,
and it sucks. It sucks.
Okay,
and
then,
if
we're going to have a violent revolution when they take that away. When American people feel that.
So is that a failure of socialism that we're going to have a violent revolution?
Well, when people find out their Social Security is gone and their retirement is gone, this is going to get violent here too.
But it's going to get violent because a socialist program failed. None of those 401ks are failing to the point where people are going to get violent.
Why do you think they're going to take it away? Do you think
we're going to find out? And you know what? We're not going to have any Social Security, and then we're just going to be.
We're not going to have Social Security.
Well, okay. We have. They took down communist Russia. That's the first thing. So with them out of the way, now they could take back Social Security because that's a communist form of.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that step one? Defeat communist Russia. Step 2, end Social Security, that there's some sort of grandiose scheme going on here?
But there's a very much a connection, okay?
Who benefits? I want to know more, Sarah. Hang on. We're going to bring you back. Communist Sarah on the line with us here tonight. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Who in Washington, D.C. would benefit from taking away Social Security? That's what I'd like to know. 855-450-3733. You want to talk communism? You can do that. More about Venezuela? You can do that too. Whatever's on your mind. Also, Russia may be targeting Bitcoin users and more. Coming up on Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Could you use up to $35,000? No need to shop around for loans anymore. LoanUS.com is a convenient online way to connect with a lender based on your unique background and provide you a loan of up to $35,000. And LoanUS.com works with lenders in all 50 states. Use the loan to pay for emergency expenses, medical bills, debt consolidation, home improvement, large purchases, and even taxes.
LoanUS.com connects you with lenders but is not a lender or a broker and does not make lending or credit decisions. Loans may not be available for residents of some states. APR, loan term, loan amount, and other loan details may vary. See LoanUS.com for details.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, May 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.24 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,272 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $460. Antiwar.com reports the problem of insider attacks targeting NATO occupation forces in Afghanistan has shrunk dramatically in the last 2 years, as NATO has dramatically limited the amount of potential contact with local security forces. Over the weekend, however, 2 Romanian NATO troops were killed in such an attack. The attackers were wearing Afghan military uniforms and opened fire on the Romanians in southern Afghanistan, killing 2 and wounding 1 other. The NATO troops returned fire and killed the gunmen. In the past, however, only some of the insider attacks were actually launched by Taliban forces who infiltrated the military, with others simply the result of arguments that escalated to the point of violence. There have been no indications so far from reports what happened this time. These were the first NATO soldiers confirmed killed in occupied Afghanistan since January of this year, despite ever-growing violence, particularly in the nation's south, and growing number of NATO troops being deployed back to the areas near potential combat zones. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports 2 ride-booking companies, Uber and Lyft, are threatening to leave the Texas state capitol after residents voted against a new fingerprint requirement for drivers. Voters in Austin voted 56% to 44% against Proposition 1 on Saturday, which would have allowed the companies to continue using their own background checks. Instead, the city will proceed with its ordinance approved in December that requires drivers to undergo fingerprinting checks by February 1st, 2017. The ordinance also bans drivers from stopping in traffic lanes to pick up and drop off passengers. Uber and Lyft don't want to operate in the city under these conditions. Uber and Lyft are both stopping service as of today at 8 a.m. and 5 a.m. respectively. An Uber spokesperson said in a statement, "Disappointment does not begin to describe how we feel about shutting down operations in Austin. We hope the city council will reconsider their ordinance so we can work together to make the streets of Austin a safer place for everyone." A spokesman for Lyft said the rules passed by the city council do not allow true ride-sharing to operate. Instead, they make it harder for part-time drivers, the heart of Lyft's peer-to-peer model, to get on the road and harder for passengers to get a ride. Because of this, we have to take a stand for a long-term path forward that lets ride-sharing continue to grow across the country. The 2 companies plan to operate outside of city limits. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. Reuters reports the president of Penn State said on Sunday he was appalled by the media coverage surrounding allegations the university's late head football coach Joe Paterno knew about child sex abuse by his assistant coach as far back as the mid-1970s. New allegations about Paterno, a legendary figure at Penn State and still revered by many supporters, surfaced last week in court documents in a civil case over settlements with victims of his assistant Jerry Sandusky. Paterno, who died in January 2012, was fired in 2011 after disclosures that he knew Sandusky sexually abused young boys in the school's football showers in 2002, and that, while he told university officials, he failed to notify police. The new allegations involve alleged incidents that are years older. Eric Barron, the president of Penn State University, said in an open letter on the school's website, "I am appalled by the rumor, innuendo, and rush to judgment that have accompanied these media stories surrounding these allegations." Barron said none of the fresh allegations, which threatened to reopen a scandal that rocked the school's vaunted football program and college sports in general, have been substantiated in a court of law, and they are unsupported by any evidence. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Sony released this week the Nasal HD 340s, a brand new pair of high-quality nose buds designed to let users blast different scents into their nostrils throughout the day. The Onion let consumers across the nation sound off about their excitement for the new product.
I've always got them in my nose. At work, at the gym, on the bus, wherever. These days, I can't stop smelling tennis ball.
Retailing for $49.99, the nose buds accompany the launch of Sony's new online odor store, which sells over 22,000 different smells for download and immediate inhalation. Still, not everyone is quite as enthusiastic about the new product.
These things suck. I mean, a lot of times it only works out of the right nostril. The other day I tried smelling picnic table. It smelled more like hardwood floor. And also, to be honest, I have a really hard time breathing with these things on.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour of the program. You can join us on the radio here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, Darryl will be telling us that the British government is telling you to stop resetting your passwords. We'll see what their reasoning is for that, because that sounds like really bad security policy. We'll get into that here.
Think of the children.
And, I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. Our toll-free number allows you to join us to bring up anything you want at 855-450-FREE. Plus, we're joined by Melanie tonight, who will be telling us, when we get the chance, about the Supreme Court ruling that could be a really bad one for people who use the anonymity service known as Tor. So that's on the way here tonight as well. And, of course, your calls. We've got Sarah on the line, and it gives us an incredible opportunity to address his supporters in a rational, courteous, and dignified way. Fortunately for us right now, we've got Roger Ver on the side of freedom, and he's laid out this challenge. Adam Kokesh has agreed to meet Bernie Sanders in any city in America on any day between now and the end of this year for a friendly debate on socialism versus voluntarism, in which Bernie can choose the objective moderator. To sweeten the deal, Roger Ver, a.k.a. Bitcoin Jesus, has offered that upon completion of the 3-hour debate, in which both men have equal time, that he will donate a total of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to the charity of each man's choice. That's $50,000 apiece. So learn more about this challenge at bernie.freetalklive.com. That's bernie.freetalklive.com. We'll talk more, Darryl, about your story about the GCHQ, the British equivalent of the NSA,
yes,
over in Britain, and password changing. But first, Jim is on the line in Nevada. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Jim.
Yes.
Hey there.
I was wanting to know about the young lady that called in about liking communism. a question to her would be, how would she feel if a person came to her house and beat the hell out of her to get her things because she had more than he had? Would she still like communism at that point?
Well, I don't think most people would say they would like that. And as you heard in Sarah's call, she, in the very beginning of the discussion, tried to shy away from the idea of using violence to enforce her political beliefs. But ultimately, even someone who believed in the use of violence still probably wouldn't want it to come to the actual beating. They would just they would want to use the threat of violence to get people to comply.
Right, but she still probably would not like it if somebody came to her house and threatened violence to get her stuff because she has more than somebody else.
Well, I mean, even when you're getting to the point where an agent is showing up to your house, I mean, successful governments kind of have it worked out where they don't have to get to that point. The threat is kind of over there somewhere. Well,
because everyone knows that ultimately armed agents will come to their house.
Right.
And so when they send the threatening letters to you first, there's steps 1 through 10 involve sending paperwork. And then eventually men with guns will show up at some point. But Jim, you're right. I think it's important to bring home what could actually happen to someone, and we didn't really get into that level of detail with Sarah. So thanks for suggesting it. Was there more you wanted to throw out there about your thoughts about socialism?
No, I think if you're going to make a statement like she made, she ought to do a little bit of research on the situation that she's talking about.
Well, she obviously hasn't done any research. I mean, she believed that Venezuela was a capitalist country, and it's very socialist. It hasn't changed much in that way since Chavez died several years ago. Thanks, Jim, for your call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That allows you to join us here. Bring up your thoughts on whatever's on your mind. So, Darryl, quick recap. GCHQ, the NSA for Great Britain, has come out and has said what now?
I'll just read the statement from the CESG, which is the Communications Electronic Security Group, which is a subsidiary division of the GCHQ.
All right.
They posted this again on World Password Day, which is the first Thursday of May.
Okay.
Regular password expiry is a common requirement in many security policies. However, in CESG's password guidance published in 2015, we explicitly advise against it. This article explains why we made this for many unexpected recommendation and why we think it's the right way forward.
All right, I want to hear this because this seems like really bad advice.
Let's consider how we might limit the harm that comes from an attacker who knows a user's password. The obvious answer is to make the compromised password useless by forcing the legitimate user to replace it with a new one that the attacker does not know. This advice seems straightforward enough. The problem is that it doesn't take into account the inconvenience to the user, the usability cost of forcing users to frequently change their passwords. The majority of password policies force us to use passwords that we find hard to remember. Mm-hmm. Our passwords have to be as long as possible and as random as possible. And while we manage this for a handful of passwords, we can't do it for the dozens of passwords we now use in our online lives.
True statement. It's hard.
To make matters worse, most password policies insist that we have to keep changing them, and when forced to change one, the chances are that the new password will be similar to the old one.
That's true as well. Yep.
Attackers can exploit this weakness. The new password may have been used elsewhere, and attackers can exploit this too. The new password is also more likely to be written down somewhere, which represents another vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
New passwords are also more likely to be forgotten, and this carries the productivity cost of users being locked out of their accounts and service desk having to reset passwords.
I would say that everything they've said there mostly is pretty much dead on accurate. People don't want to have to change a password. It's inconvenient, and it's frustrating when, your bank account's like, oh, you've had the same password now for 6 months. you need to make a new password, and then somebody changes one letter or capitalizes a
or
letter.
Or they change the number at the end.
Right.
It was 1, now it's 2.
Yeah. So
it was 2, now it's 3.
I agree with their analysis that those systems don't actually create better security. I agree with that. But it's like they haven't heard of password managers. I mean, this is the British equivalent of the NSA. Have they not heard of LastPass, for instance, or
probably not
some of the other competitors out there? I've heard there's a better one now, but I don't remember what it's called. And if you've got a great one that you want to recommend, please dial in toll free at 855-450-FREE. But these password managers, for those that don't know, because not everybody knows about these things, it's a program or a plugin that you can download for your browser of choice, Chrome, Firefox, IE.
Some of these are better than others because some will encrypt the password, some save them in plain text.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure. Well, right. When you say some of these, you mean like the browsers might leave them in plain text.
Some of the browser plugins.
So some of the password managers aren't even encrypting. That's pretty sad. You want to make sure you do some research and find out which of these are the better ones. I've heard a lot of good things about LastPass. But anyway, what happens is the best ones encrypt your passwords. They encrypt what is called the master password.
Right.
So basically the idea behind LastPass, and the reason it's called that, is this is the last password you need to remember. You have a good, solid, complicated master password, and then all of your other passwords can just be a random jumble of characters and numbers that you don't have to remember because LastPass will remember them for you. It'll automatically manage, your passwords. If you change a password, it'll usually detect that. It'll say, oh, we just noticed you changed the password for your bank account. Would you like to update your new password? And then you save your new password in LastPass. So every site you go to, you can, you have your passwords right there. Now, of course, you have to use some security around LastPass because if you've got your master password entered, then anybody who gets on your computer can access every password that you have.
Right.
So there are some security measures you should take into effect, like you can have a timeout, like after 2 minutes or whatever it times out.
Use two-factor authentication.
Oh, they offer that too? That's cool. I didn't even know
I don't know if LastPass does, but I'm saying for the specific website. Yeah. So you go to a website, and LastPass says, here's the password.
Right.
And then you've still got to get the text message and put in the code that comes to your text message.
Exactly. So you can absolutely have your passwords change and not have to worry about remembering if it's a jumble of letters and numbers, because no one can remember that crap. So I can understand their critiques, but it's almost like they don't even know that these things
They've got
exist.
more to say.
All right, we'll get into it here. 855-450-FREE. Join us here on Free Talk Live.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-941-9483. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-941-9483. That's 1-800-941-9483.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market. The gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey water filters, for the love of clean water.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com. The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and apparently we've passed by International Change Your Password Day, or whatever it was called.
World Password Day.
World Password Day, where
Betty White's the spokesman. How cool is that?
That's great. She's in her 90s, right?
Yes.
So apparently not everyone believes that you should change your passwords. There's a position paper that came out from the GCHQ, the British equivalent of the NSA, 16-page long report.
Yes.
You're reading
Two-column.
You're reading some excerpts from the paperwork where they're saying
I'm actually reading their summary of
their
the
16
thing.
pages.
And I pulled up the 16 pages, and they do mention password managers in here.
I'm curious to know what they have to say about that, because the things they were saying in their summary made it sound like they didn't know that those things existed. They acted like, oh, people can't remember all these complicated passwords. And it's true. You can't remember more than a couple really complicated passwords.
Here's what they say. Software password managers can help users by generating, storing, and even inputting passwords when required.
Yep.
However, like any piece of security software, they are not impregnable and are often an attractive target for attackers.
Well, yes, of course. And this is my understanding that LastPass actually encrypts your master password locally or encrypts it in their files or whatever. Like, LastPass doesn't even know your master password. That's my understanding of how it works, but obviously I got to take their word for it because I'm not going to spend the time and I don't have the programming know-how to audit their system. But I suspect that someone has audited their system because they are relatively renowned as one of the better password managers out there. And again, they're not a sponsor of the show. We don't get any kind of kickbacks from you using them. If you've got a better suggestion, would love to hear about it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Was there more, though, that you wanted to share from the story?
There was. They say it's one of those counterintuitive security scenarios. The more often users are forced to change their passwords, the greater the overall vulnerability to attack. What appears to be a perfectly sensible, long-established piece of advice doesn't, it turns out, stand up to a rigorous whole system analysis. The CESG now recommends organizations not force regular password expiry. We believe this reduces the vulnerabilities associated with regularly expiring passwords, described above, while doing little to increase the risk of long-term password exploitation. Attackers can often work out the new password if they have the old one, and users forced to change another password will often choose a weaker one that they won't forget. At CESG, we want administrators to think about alternative, more effective system defenses that might implement, or rather they might implement, in order to detect and prevent unauthorized account access. For instance, we recommend using system monitoring tools that present users with information about the last login attempt so they can see if they're responsible for a failed login.
I think those are useful. You know, when they say, oh, we last saw you from this IP address on this date and time.
Yes.
Or from this device. Google does that on their email, or you can actually set their look at their security
Facebook will
settings.
do that sometimes, and I've had issues where I use a VPN, and it'll look like I'm logging in from somewhere else, and then I'll get an email. You just tried to log in from Pakistan.
And we're concerned this isn't you. That's good stuff. I like that kind of security protection. So I got to say, I agree with the GCHQ in this particular article. I think they're completely dead on accurate in their analysis. That
they make a lot of good points.
Yeah,
and when I first saw this, my thinking after I saw, government wants UK government wants you to stop changing your password was, oh, that way it's easier for them to get into your account after they figure out what your password is.
No, that could be part of the motivation here, but ultimately it does seem to be a recommendation for industry more so than it does for individuals.
Right.
Like banks or whoever it is. Banks and credit card companies are two of the organizations you're more likely to see forced password changes on every so many months or whatever.
And looking at their document here, they have some tips, and one of them is understanding the limitations of user-generated passwords. And they talk about the difference between technical control and complex passwords, the use of password strength meters, which while it might encourage somebody to type in something that makes the strength meter turn green instead of yellow, they don't necessarily explain what makes something a strong or a weak password.
Some do, some don't, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here. Let's go to Jack, listening in Ithaca, New York. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Melanie, and Darryl.
This is Zach from Ithaca.
Hi there, Zach. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, I talked to, we don't really need to hammer it all out again, about working at Cornell Dining. I'm currently on paid suspension, but I just saw on my Twitter feed this thing popped up from the Cornell police, essentially that they have threats which were made via two different third-party non-Cornell websites. They're being very coy. They're saying they're non-specific threats. And I talked to my friend at the paper, and they said that they're not even telling them exactly what the supposed threat is. My paranoid fear is that they might actually be trying to double down and twist my words around and pin this on me. I hope I'm completely just off base. But
what would you? I mean, what have you said online that you think they might consider a threat?
Well, I had my interview with you, and then I posted the talking to I had from Cornell HR on YouTube. That's got like 100 hits. And then I also called back in again. I did make mention about how I could do quite a bit of damage with my keyboard, but that was not a threat in a physical sense, more in the sense of I'm very good at expressing myself. You can watch the whole thing on there. It's called Talking To from Cornell HR.
To a sane person, that's not a credible threat. You're talking about state agents, though, and I'm not trying to be obnoxious, but that's very much the case.
It's true. They could interpret things how they want. I mean, maybe they think he'll come into the student union with a keyboard and actually attack people with it.
I just thought, why not just out of an abundance of caution give you an update. Also, there was a op-ed posted on Cornell's website called The Price of Anti-Competitive Burrito, where one of the students basically laid out about how there's essentially for-profit stuff going on campus, and God knows where the money's going. So,
hold on, what's an anti-competitive burrito?
If you go, it's Cornell Daily Sun guest room, The Price of an Anti-Competitive Burrito by David Tauber. And he details just, the kind of essentially for-profit business that's going on in the dining system on campus, yet there's no accountability for where any of this money is going. And they don't allow private businesses, like he uses Chipotle for an example, they don't allow them to come in and provide, food service, yet they're charging the same prices as those organizations, but there's no accountability for where the money ends up.
And this is the you had expressed to us previously that the dining commons at Cornell is actually run by Cornell. It's not being run by a third party, whether it's Sodexo, which some colleges, the college here in Keene uses Sodexo. It's actually run by the college. So you're saying that because it's college run, there should be some transparency?
Oh, absolutely. And what's very interesting is both of these articles that have been written, if you scroll down to the bottom and read the comments that have been left by students and staff and just individuals, they are scathing, and they really give you a true insight into the kind of the ways things work. This facade of it being a benevolent organization is really just that. It's a facade.
Zach, thanks for the call and the update tonight. Appreciate it. Let's go to Tom. He's in Baltimore. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Melanie, and Darryl.
Okay. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, Tom, go ahead.
You were talking about money, and that's what I wanted to get back to. By the way, Ian, you never cease to amaze me. You've got a really good grasp of a lot of different ideas, not just on the surface, but in theory. In fact, you were right, what you advised the lady lawyer about relative to the amount of money in circulation. It absolutely is crucial. And that's what the Fed does. That's really what they're all about. That's how they maintain control. Really what they're doing is simply balancing out assets and liabilities. And that's their job, and that's their means of enslaving not only a country and its people, but the banks themselves. The individual banks all have to report to their respective Fed office. Mm-hmm. And it's that Fed office that maintains the grip on those banks relative to their reserves. And
I didn't know that until just a few weeks ago. So whenever you send money from one bank account to another, it's got to go through the Fed first before it can even get to the other account.
Yes.
855 450 free. Hour 3's coming up on Free Talk Live.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. freetalklive.com.
Could you use up to $35,000? Whether it's for home improvement, car repairs, paying off taxes, debt consolidation, emergency funds, or any other reason, LoanUS.com can match you with a lender that can offer up to $35,000. Quick, convenient, and completely online. LoanUS.com works with lenders in all 50 states. You can get up to $35,000 as soon as the next day. Visit LoanUS.com now.
LoanUS.com connects you with lenders, but is not a lender or a broker and does not make lending or credit decisions. Loans may not be available for residents of some states. APR, loan term, loan amount, and other loan details may vary. See LoanUS.com for details.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nesquik. Try Nesquik 4-packs, perfect for lunches and great for kids on the go. Look for it in the juice aisle. Snack time is a great chance to sneak extra calcium into your child's diet without making him feel like he's eating something he doesn't want. Serve up dairy-rich foods like smoothies, flavored milk, frozen yogurt, and string cheese. He'll love the treat, and you'll love knowing how good it is for him. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, May 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.24 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,272 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $460. Antiwar.com reports the problem of insider attacks targeting NATO occupation forces in Afghanistan has shrunk dramatically in the last 2 years, as NATO has dramatically limited the amount of potential contact with local security forces. Over the weekend, however, 2 Romanian NATO troops were killed in such an attack. The attackers were wearing Afghan military uniforms and opened fire on the Romanians in southern Afghanistan, killing 2 and wounding 1 other. The NATO troops returned fire and killed the gunmen. In the past, however, only some of the insider attacks were actually launched by Taliban forces who infiltrated the military, with others simply the result of arguments that escalated to the point of violence. There have been no indications so far from reports what happened this time. These were the first NATO soldiers confirmed killed in occupied Afghanistan since January of this year, despite ever-growing violence, particularly in the nation's south, and growing number of NATO troops being deployed back to the areas near potential combat zones. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports 2 ride-booking companies, Uber and Lyft, are threatening to leave the Texas state capitol after residents voted against a new fingerprint requirement for drivers. Voters in Austin voted 56% to 44% against Proposition 1 on Saturday, which would have allowed the companies to continue using their own background checks. Instead, the city will proceed with its ordinance approved in December that requires drivers to undergo fingerprinting checks by February 1st, 2017. The ordinance also bans drivers from stopping in traffic lanes to pick up and drop off passengers. Uber and Lyft don't want to operate in the city under these conditions. Uber and Lyft are both stopping service as of today at 8 a.m. and 5 a.m. respectively. An Uber spokesperson said in a statement, "Disappointment does not begin to describe how we feel about shutting down operations in Austin. We hope the city council will reconsider their ordinance so we can work together to make the streets of Austin a safer place for everyone." A spokesman for Lyft said the rules passed by the city council do not allow true ride-sharing to operate. Instead, they make it harder for part-time drivers, the heart of Lyft's peer-to-peer model, to get on the road and harder for passengers to get a ride. Because of this, we have to take a stand for a long-term path forward that lets ride-sharing continue to grow across the country. The 2 companies plan to operate outside of city limits. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. Reuters reports the president of Penn State said on Sunday he was appalled by the media coverage surrounding allegations the university's late head football coach Joe Paterno knew about child sex abuse by his assistant coach as far back as the mid-1970s. New allegations about Paterno, a legendary figure at Penn State and still revered by many supporters, surfaced last week in court documents in a civil case over settlements with victims of his assistant Jerry Sandusky. Paterno, who died in January 2012, was fired in 2011 after disclosures that he knew Sandusky sexually abused young boys in the school's football showers in 2002, and that, while he told university officials, he failed to notify police. The new allegations involve alleged incidents that are years older. Eric Barron, the president of Penn State University, said in an open letter on the school's website, "I am appalled by the rumor, innuendo, and rush to judgment that have accompanied these media stories surrounding these allegations." Barron said none of the fresh allegations, which threatened to reopen a scandal that rocked the school's vaunted football program and college sports in general, have been substantiated in a court of law, and they are unsupported by any evidence. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Supreme Court's sidekick, Kid Justice, is killed by mad genius Dr. Contempto. Thousands of elderly Japanese Americans are rounded up for an internment camp's 70th reunion, and a report confirms the habitat of Bengal tigers is now down to a studio apartment in Jaipur, India. As it was once prophesied in the weekly news recap videos of old, here now it emerges before your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Local man Matthew Hunker announced this week that he has such strong brand loyalty to Mazda that he's willing to kill for the Japanese car brand. Hunker told reporters that if he hears anyone say anything negative about Mazda's cutting-edge features, or if anyone places any other car brand above the award-winning line of 2013 Mazdas, he will, quote, personally beat them to death.
You think I wouldn't slit your goddamn throat in the name of Mazda? You think I'm f***ing around? Go ahead, say something bad about the top-rated Mazda 6 or the award-winning CX-5. See what f***ing happens. I f***ing dare you. You think I'm afraid to go to jail?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. You're invited to join us on the radio here if you want. You can bring up anything you want to discuss. We've talked about the people are hunting dogs, cats, pigeons in Venezuela. Bitcoin in Russia could be banned. It hasn't happened yet. And the British government against changing passwords. We can talk more about any of those things. If you've got comments, you're welcome to join us here, 855-450-FREE. We had Tom on the line in Baltimore at the end of the last hour, and he didn't really have a chance to get all of his thoughts out, so we're going to go to Tom here and bring him back. Tom, you were calling in. You were discussing inflation, the Federal Reserve, and please continue.
Well, it's all high-minded, dry stuff, but kind of necessary to state. And by the way, it's not my high-minded, dry stuff. It's the Federal Reserve's algorithm of control. And, it's not something that they deny. They are very upfront about what they do. It's surprising that more politicians don't speak more intelligently about the economy after having educated themselves about what the Federal Reserve is really up to.
Well, how many politicians are actually educated about the Federal Reserve?
That's my point exactly. And getting back to what I was saying, and then let's segue into a question for the lady lawyer relative to this whole money system. What you were getting at, I think, Ian, is exactly what the Federal Reserve is concerned about, and that's to control the quantity of money that's in the system, because that's how they keep things stable, and that's how they keep things moving. You might have heard some of these goofy people from the Fed talk about the velocity of money. I didn't know what that meant. It took me a while to figure out and find out what they were talking about. They're really talking about the flow of money in regard to how much is in the system in order to keep people spending and buying goods and services rolling. And every time these transactions are made, because the money out there, again, by their own admission, has no intrinsic value, it's a debt instrument, so to speak. And that is how they're making the money. That's how they keep everyone in their control.
It's hard. Look, I'm no economist. I'm no fiscal expert, but it's my understanding that when you call it a debt instrument, when it's a Federal Reserve note, that's evidence of the debt. And it's my understanding that in order to get rid of the national debt entirely, you'd have to get rid of all of the dollars, because each dollar, once it's turned in, is no longer debt. So the fact that the dollars are out there is evidence of the debt.
That seems absolutely absurd, because there was a national debt before there was a Federal Reserve.
Well, there's other ways to incur debt.
That's true. What do you think about that, Tom? You heard that one?
Yes, and that's certainly something that can occur. But keep in mind, they've switched us over to a system where we're accepting trash, pieces of paper. Again, they admit they have no intrinsic value, and what they did is kind of like a parlor trick. They took real money, and by the way, they've also twisted what a dollar is. A dollar is a unit of measure of silver, and they've actually committed a crime by counterfeiting. Their crimes have not gone unnoticed by many people in law enforcement, but who's going to enforce it? you know?
Well, it's not
How does it
counterfeiting.
become a crime when they change the legal definition?
Yeah,
They didn't.
Right. It's
They didn't change the legal definition.
It's not counterfeiting, though. It's not a silver dollar. It's a Federal Reserve note. So they're not claiming.
They're calling it a dollar, and that is counterfeiting. There's laws relative to true weights and measures. There's laws specifically stating what a dollar is. And by the way, when you call something a dollar that's not a dollar, it's counterfeiting, and it's a crime.
Not when
It's
you're
a
the
serious
government, though.
crime.
I mean, it's like, when you're the government police, you can wiretap people without it being wiretapping because there are exemptions.
You guys get into semantics about what the big crime syndicate is really doing and whether or not the laws are sufficient, and people in law enforcement are bold enough and can come together in a way to actually do something about it. I don't think anything short of some type of revolution could actually get that to occur unless people actually would group together and demand that the courts enforce these laws. I still think there's a nonviolent way to utilize the court system. I know a lot of people disagree with me. And by the way, let me ask my question. I'll hang up and let other callers touch on these subjects. But I wanted to find out from the lawyer, relative to what we're talking about with money, it brings up contracts. Now, we're using money, of course, and we're contracting all the time. Now, in basic contract law, I'm sure she knows that it requires certain elements to take place, an exchange of property. Now, if we're dealing with something that has no intrinsic value, no property has been, the contract basically is void on its face because the basic requirements have not been met. And that has a lot of implications. I'd like to hear her thoughts on that matter. And if she needs me to clarify what the question is, I will.
Okay, I think what you're asking is under contract law because you need consideration.
That's the value that he was talking about?
Yeah. So, or all contracts.
You have novations occurring all the time because you didn't meet those basic requirements.
Right, but what you're asking, I want to make sure I understand what you're asking. Are you asking that under contract law, because of consideration, which is a law in most states where you have to actually be trading something of value for something else of value, because fiat currency is worthless, therefore all contracts are void if they're for a sum of U.S. dollars? Is that
it makes sense to me. I wanted to find out from a lawyer what you think about it.
Well, first of all, you're not actually an attorney, but you did go to law school.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so under most states require consideration, all states don't. But most of them do. It doesn't have to. So fiat currency, it has no inherent value. That doesn't mean it doesn't have any value. Gold has very little inherent value. It has a lot of value because you can actually make things with gold, but it's worth more because we trade it as, we basically trade it as a currency, even though it's not recognized that way. So even though Federal Reserve notes have no inherent value, they do have value. It's a horrible system. It's an immoral system. It's arguably an illegal system. They do have value, though, because you can go to the store and trade things for them. So
value is only what people assign to it, right? So people assign
based on confidence. And what I said was they had no intrinsic value, and the Federal Reserve will
Well, they do. I mean, they have intrinsic value as a piece of paper. You could wipe your butt with it, if it'd be kind of gross to do that.
I'll tell you what the Fed says. The Fed will tell you, and they have it in writing, that it's basically worthless. And it hits on a greater point, and that is how the government oftentimes skirts around the areas of law that they cannot actually show are proper and being adhered to. Like, for instance, Mark Stevens. His argument, I think, is very valid about them proving jurisdiction. It's an element of the crime, and they skip over it as if it's a given.
Yeah, they do.
It's not. And I'll leave you with that.
Tom, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. I agree with you on this, Melanie, that the currency of whatever fiat currency being, the idea that they can just wave a magic wand or turn on the printing press and make more money, unlike gold where you actually have to mine it from the earth to get more of it. The fiat currency has no inherent value, as Tom was saying, but
and all currency isn't printed either, so it doesn't even necessarily have the value of paper because most U.S. currency is not printed.
That's true. The supermajority is just numbers in a computer that they increment over time. But people do believe in it, And you could argue that that's because it's legal tender, which is the law that says, if you look at every greenback, it says this is legal tender for all debts payment or all debts private or public. And that means that the government has passed a law that says if you are in the United States, the landmass known as the United States, you have to accept the U.S. money as payment for whatever it is that you're offering for sale. That's essentially my understanding of what legal tender is.
And I've actually got the U.S. code in front of me on legal tender, where it says United States coins and currency, including Federal Reserve notes, are legal tender for all debts public. Charges, taxes, and dues, foreign gold or silver coins are not legal tender for debt.
And legal tender means you accept this or you go to jail. We're going to hurt you if you don't accept this. So maybe it wouldn't be as valuable if it wasn't legal tender. But anyway, it's Free Talk Live. We'll continue, and you can join us.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Hi, this is Ron Paul. I'm a former 22-year congressman and Republican presidential candidate. I'm here to tell you about something that just might save your lives. You never know when there will be another Katrina, an economic collapse, or a serious drought. We should all have a little food storage that will carry us through tough times. I'm going to tell you about a great way to do that. A U.S. company named Harvest Right has a kitchen appliance that can help you be prepared. It's a home freeze dryer. With the product, you can preserve the foods your family loves. And the best part is the food will last 25 years and still taste great. I've tried it, and it's amazing. With a home freeze dryer from Harvest Right, you can literally freeze dry anything you eat, even things like ice cream. To learn more, call Harvest Right today at 800-594-4635 or go to harvestright.com. That's 800-594-4635 or harvestright.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at Credit Success.
Crime, but these officers are just kissing people left and right with no probable cause.
If you've got nothing to hide, then it's not a problem. They just stop, ask where you're going, give you a gentle kiss or two, and let you go.
Mark, there have been examples, public examples, where these procedures have just gone too far. Let's take a look at a disturbing cell phone video that's been making the rounds on the internet.
Stop! Put your hands on your head. Oh, come on, man. They just kissed me 2 blocks ago. Come on, man. I didn't do anything. Shut the f*** up and let me kiss you.
Look, the cops can either kiss people now before there's violence, or they can be kissing a bunch of dead bodies at a crime scene.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you?
If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State. Or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. All you have to do is dial in to join us here at 8:55. Fourth guy then made several raids and made over 130 arrests. There are a lot of cases now, legal cases in play, and almost all of them are in jeopardy at this point, or at least probably are in legal jeopardy because they are unable to the evidence that they've had has been thrown out. This warrant that the federal government had to put this malware on the server in the first place was found to be basically illegal because it was written by a magistrate judge, which is different from a regular federal judge. And I don't understand what those differences are exactly, but there's a pecking order, if you will, of federal judges. And so the district judges have thrown out the magistrate judge's warrant, which is resulting in possible cases being thrown out. And so now the federal government is going to be able to say, oh, woe is us. Look at all these child pornographers that we have to let go now because of this new because of this Rule 41 that we screwed up and we went to the wrong judge. So let's change the rule. And they've been pushing for this. So, Melanie, you're telling us that the rule has now been changed by the Supreme Court in order to make it so that magistrate judges can issue more sort of wide-cutting warrants outside of their jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah, and only for Tor and Tor-like. I don't know the name of any of the other encryption.
Oh, really? Oh, they specifically rewrote Rule 41 to mention Tor?
Well, it doesn't mention Tor. I don't know what the name of any of the other ones. It's the language is
Because, so what you're saying is it's not like a magistrate...
I2P is another anonymizing browser that's an alternative to Tor.
So
there's Freenet.
That's right, yep.
Freepto.
Okay, so you can write a warrant, or they can write warrants outside of their jurisdiction if the district where the media or information is located has been concealed through technological means. Okay, first of all, that doesn't even say that they haven't been able to figure out where it was. I can conceal something and conceal it poorly, or I can conceal something and you can have better hackers than me. Now you know, doesn't matter. It has been concealed, so now we can go forum shopping and decide what judge we like to get a warrant, because now any judge can do it.
So what they're saying is, let me see if I've got this straight. This new Rule 41 that is basically if the Congress does nothing will go into effect at the end of this year.
Right.
This new Rule 41 says magistrate judges who previously could not issue a warrant for covering outside of their own district, their own federal district,
right,
now can do so long as the places to be searched are unknown. Is that right?
As long as they're not even as long as they're unknown, as long as they were concealed and were concealed through technological means. It doesn't even say they have to be currently unknown. Technically under this, and it's a law, so technically they could have been concealed and now are known. You can go to any magistrate you want. You're going to go to the one that's going to be most likely to approve your warrant, because now they can do it. Also, I think that what they're claiming that they were trying to get already existed under Rule 41, because you need probable cause. You don't need that to have been actually the case after the fact. You had probable cause that it was in your jurisdiction. You had probable cause, well, in this case it didn't, but you had probable cause that a crime was committed. You had everything else you needed. It turns out that one of those things weren't true. The warrant's still good. You don't throw out a warrant because you find out after the fact that something was false, as long as you had probable cause at the time the warrant was signed.
What if you thought you had probable cause, but you only had reasonable suspicion?
it doesn't matter. You had probable. What do you mean you thought you had probable?
Well, wait a minute. The whole warrant hasn't been thrown out in the case of the FBI running the child porn site. The warrant was legitimate for the Eastern District of Virginia, meaning that anyone who connected to this child porn website run by the FBI who happened to be in the Eastern District of Virginia, their case is still good. But the other cases from people outside, which is probably the supermajority of them, from outside of the Eastern District of Virginia, are possibly going to have to be thrown out.
And there's two problems that they knew, and they knew for what was it, like 19 years, that they were, first of all, they were able to get the IP addresses on these computers, so they knew that they were outside of the jurisdiction, and they didn't cure that. So they knew that they were going outside of their jurisdiction, and they did it on purpose. Two, I think that they probably are throwing, well, I think that they're throwing this case, so they're not fighting as hard as they otherwise would to uphold the warrant anyway, I think.
Do you think they're going to appeal?
Can throw the case.
Do you think the U.S. Attorney will appeal? Because there have been two district judges, I believe. Maybe one was a magistrate judge. But anyway, two federal judges have essentially found most of this warrant to be invalid because of what we're talking about here, that it was outside of the jurisdiction, the evidence that they were collecting. Do you think the U.S. Attorney will appeal it? If they're trying to throw the case, do they still have to make it look like they're not trying to throw the case?
I mean, not really. I don't want to say regular people, but most people without any formal legal education aren't going to notice things like that and aren't necessarily going to understand them if they do. I would imagine that he would not appeal. Or he'd appeal at a lower level and not go all the way up.
Not go to the Supreme Court?
You do like one appeal to make it look legit.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to fight it that hard. No, I have no inside information on this case, so like nobody rely on this for life decisions.
Sure.
But
this is not legal advice.
So I don't see them fighting it because in this case, the FBI doesn't care if they catch people watching or creating child porn. They care about PR, they care about budgets, they care about power. They don't care that they're letting all these people go. They care that they get the power grab that they're going to get.
Not all of them are being let go because some of them have already put in guilty pleas. So they've been doing this investigation. The warrant was issued back in February or somewhere around there of 2015. That's when they took over this child pornography website and started operating it. The federal government actually running a child pornography website, which talk about an ethical question.
Yeah, so they really don't care because they're running a child porn site for 2 decades.
They are facilitating the distribution of child pornography, the very thing they claim that they're trying to stop. But, that aside, it's been going on for quite a while. They've, continued to make arrests. And so some of those earlier cases, you've already got plea deals that have been put in. Let's see, here's one of the more updated stories is from Vice, motherboard.vice.com, where there's actually an attorney who's trying to get his guilty plea for his client withdrawn. Quote, counsel knew of no defenses to the charge at the time of the guilty plea, wrote Thomas Dyer, representing Michael Lowe, wrote in a motion on Wednesday and added, quote, this is a new area of criminal law that's being litigated at this very moment throughout the entire country. Lowe was arrested as part of the FBI's investigation into the dark web child pornography website Playpen. And then they go on to tell you what we've already told you about how the FBI has put this hacking tool, and they collected over 1,300 IP addresses. In his motion, Dyer references last month's events where a Massachusetts judge ruled that the warrant used to authorize the mass hack was void. This was because the judge who signed the warrant, it was argued, didn't have the legal power to greenlight the search and seizure outside of her own district of the Eastern District of Virginia. Quote, the attorney said the defendant's guilty plea was not fully knowing because he was not aware of some of the legal events, analysis, and judicial opinions relating to the warrant issued in the Eastern District of Virginia, which, to me, that's not persuasive. I mean, I'm no judge.
It doesn't work that way.
But, yeah, I mean, this dude already put in a guilty plea. He's already admitted guilt. For him to say that he didn't know about all of the legal analysis.
It's not relevant.
Yeah, of the legal events that have developed since his guilty plea, that's not going to hold water with a judge.
No.
So it's a desperate Hail Mary attempt on the part of this probably a public defender would be my guess who's filing this. Indeed.
And the attorney probably has to file the appeal. even if he knows it's probably going to lose, frivolous suits don't really work the same way in criminal court as they do in civil court. So the attorney probably has to file it. And I mean, hey, you're in jail, you go for it. But that's not... It doesn't work that way.
He finally said, indeed, neither the defendant nor his counsel were aware of legal developments at the time of the defendant's plea because the new information on the subject was not readily discoverable despite due diligence. The case deals with a novel and cutting-edge area of criminal law. So we'll continue to update you on this situation as it develops. And Melanie, thanks for coming in and guest hosting tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We might have her back here, and appreciate the legal analysis. DarrylWperry.com. Check out his campaign website. He's going to be traveling later this week. It's Free Talk Live. See you tomorrow.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune